Sierpinski's triangle. Sierpinski was a mathematician who worked the night shift in a factory. And here's what he did one night. He took a very large sheet of paper and he drew 3 points on it to represent a triangle. So put your first point there, second one down there, third one down there. You're going to be doing this on the screen, so you're going to need some coordinates. So that might be over 400 down 10. This one might be over 10 down 800. And so where did we go? We went over 390, so this would be 790. Let me just get the cursor. This would be over 790, 800. Doesn't really matter what numbers you use, just pick ones that give you a nice big triangle. And here's what he did. He then he rolled the dice. So he called this one 1 and 2, this one 3 and 4, and this last point 5 and 6. You started with a random point. You're going to start with one of the corner points, but he started with a random one. And he just put a circle. Then he rolled the die. So let's say he got number 1. If he got number 1, he went halfway from the point he was at to the number 1 point, which is this one. So halfway would put me about there, and he drew a new point, and he stayed there. Rolled the die again. Let's say he gets a 6. Halfway between this point and the point at 6. Maybe right about there, and he drew a new point. Rolled the die again. Let's say he gets a 5. Halfway between the point at 5 and the point you're at. There's your new point. Let's say he gets a 3. Halfway between here and the point at 3. And he did this all night. Now, it's going to be quicker for you because you get to use a computer. So what's going to be different when you do it? Because we have a computer, we don't really need to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on a die. We can use random numbers instead, which means we'll use the numbers 1, 2, and 3. Gives you the exact same thing as rolling the die. It's just slightly easier to program. So I'm going to decide this is point 2 and this is point 3. Okay, then what happens? So what you're going to need to do is you're going to have to start with an x and a y. So x equals, let it equal one of your starting points. So x could be 400, y could be 10. Get yourself a random number. Your random number is going to be from 1 to 3. This is not how you code a random number. You're going to have to look that up. And then if the number is a 1, to get your new point, you take your old x value, add the point that's at 1. So the point at 1 is 400. And then divide by 2. When you do that, that gives you the point halfway between your starting point and where you are now. Do the same with your y. So it's going to equal your old y plus your new y value divided by 2. So I'm taking that point, and that will be the end of if r equals 1. Do the same thing if r equals 2. If r equals 2, find a new point. X will equal x plus 10. Y will equal y plus 800. Divide them by 2. And if r equals 3, you'd be adding 790 and 800. You're going to do this section over and over and over and over again. So put it inside a for loop. And when you do your for loop, make it go for a very long time. I'd start with 100 just to get an idea. If you see a bunch of circles in this triangle, you know you're on the right track. And after that, make it really big. It's worth your while to see what happens. So what you do again, you have a starting point, get a random number from 1 to 3. If it's 1, your new x value is halfway between where it was and the top point. If it's 2, halfway between where it was and the bottom left. If it's 3, halfway between where it was and the bottom right. Remember to also draw the point. So make sure you draw your new point. I would do draw oval, because they tend to turn out the best. Probably draw a point at x, y, and maybe go over 2 and down 2. I've tried going over 1, down 1, and getting a small circle, and often it doesn't show up. So do that a whole bunch of times and you should be amazed at what you get. Have fun. This is one of the most interesting projects we do.